I'm Ruth. I'm a writer and performer, and I wrote The Invisible Museum, and I am also the curator in it, as you might be able to tell.
And why did you write this piece?
I was inspired by my children, and they're both really interested in science, but as we were sort of looking at science and science history, we noticed that most of the household names are just male scientists. There's the odd female one, but not many. And so we started looking at books and things that there were that we could read together that specifically focused on the more invisible members of the science community and told the stories particularly of women who've been successful in science. And there's quite a lot of books out there at the moment, definitely worth looking into.
So how did you go about choosing the characters?
Well, that was really difficult actually, because there are so many, actually, when you look, so many women who are unsung heroes in the world of science. And actually, it wasn't even just women when I first started. I was looking for the stories that aren't told very often, which is why you do get mention in the Invisible Museum of various people who were ignored through history because they're people of colour, disabled people. There's lots of different reasons. So it was really difficult when I first started looking into it. But I picked a few who had interesting stories, some who were particularly relevant to children because this is aimed at young people. So Mary Anning, for example, because she started all her work aged 11. I looked for characters who first of all had an interesting story and then would fit with Hura's story as well, the curator and her troubles with her time travelling pack.
Do you always include the same characters?
The core characters are always the same, so Mary Anning and Hypatia and Hedy Lamarr are always in there. But I do try to make it a little bit specific to the places that I'm visiting and find some other stories that are more relevant sort of locally. So for example, when I did a show in Chippenham, I talked about Maud Cunnington, who's an archaeologist local to there, whose items were actually in the museum that I was doing the show in. So I was trying to put a little spin on it and find some of the other stories.
Fabulous. And could you talk us through the process of putting it together?
Yeah, so essentially the first thing is research. I find some characters who are interesting, find out all about their lives, research what their history is, what their science is. And then from there, it's putting those stories into the story of Hura the curator and finding out ways that she's got a little bit of a personal spin on things that she might know having visited them. And then it's finding the items as well, or the experiments as well. In the live show, there's a lot of interactive experiments that go on as well. So trying to make sure there are elements of that engage the audience and also tell a little bit of the science story as well as the life story and as well as making a beautiful piece of theatre.
That's brilliant, thank you very much.